"Touch that tattoo again," the seal growled, "and you'll be pulling back a broken hand." Chairs scraped, glasses stilled, the music choked mid-riff. The young soldier froze. He hadn't expected that the quiet woman in the corner, Eden Wolfe, would trigger a reaction like this. 3 SEAL veterans now stood between him and his pride, eyes fixed, jaws locked. One reached for his sidearm. Another stepped forward, close enough for the soldier to smell cordite and cold steel. The third pointed at the ink on her wrist. "That mark? That's a graveyard!" Seconds later, they saluted her. What kind of tattoo forces killers to stand guard? What kind of past turns a room full of laughter into dead silence? Drop a comment. Where are you watching from and what time is it? Like, subscribe and stay close. This isn't just a story. Friday night at Rustwood Tavern wasn't quiet. It never was. The pub vibrated with the thunder of guitars and laughter, its old wooden beams soaked in decades of sweat, beer and stories no one wrote down. Soldiers packed the place wall to wall, most fresh off transport, their boots still dusty with training ground dirt, their egos louder than the music. Eden Wolfe sat alone. Her booth was tucked away in the far corner, away from the bar fights and card games, beneath a flickering wall lamp that stuttered like it couldn't decide if it wanted to light her face or let her fade. She didn't mind. She'd come for the quiet, not the company. Her pint of dark stout sat untouched. Her sleeve was rolled up. It was always rolled up. Not out of pride, not for display, just habit. The numbers inked down her wrist weren't large or decorative. They were precise, deliberate. 7,312 K842, printed in straight black lines beside a fractured black triangle encased in a broken grey circle. She didn't glance at them. She didn't have to. They were etched deeper in her memory than her skin. A group of soldiers crowded the central table louder than the rest. 6 of them, still young enough to think their war stories mattered. Cigar smoke coiled above their heads. One of them, square-jawed, brash, his shirt sleeves stretched over overtrained biceps, threw a glance toward Eden's table. "Look at that." His voice cut through the rock riffs and carried to the others. "The loner with the ink. You think that's real?" He leaned back, waving his beer. "Bet it's her cat's birthday or something." The others chuckled. One, already glassy-eyed, squinted. "Nah, bro, it's gotta be a Wi-Fi password, like ... super classified Netflix access." More laughter. They liked their own noise too much to notice the shift in the room. Eden didn't flinch. She was used to it. Every few months it was a new room, new uniforms, same script. But tonight felt ... different. From the far side of the bar, 3 men stopped mid-conversation. They sat apart from the rest, older, quieter, back straight, eyes sharp. Captain Roland Shaw, Lieutenant Dana Rourke, Major Felix Kwan, all SEALs, all still carrying missions in their bones they were never allowed to mention. They saw the tattoo, and they froze. "No way," Dana whispered, her voice already tight with disbelief. "That's..." "Operation Silent Rain," Kwan finished for her. "Gaddafi Ridge, 2016, that's her." Roland didn't say a word. He stood. Back at the main table, the young brash one wasn't done. He pushed away from his seat and sauntered toward Eden's booth, drink in hand. "Hey," he grinned. "What does it mean, huh? 7,312? You got that at a discount ink shop, or is it code for your ex's phone number?" Eden slowly looked up. Her eyes met his. No anger, no smile, just ... presence. "You wouldn't understand," she said quietly. He laughed. "Come on, enlighten me. I'm good with numbers." He reached toward her wrist. Behind him, Roland's voice rang like cold iron. "Touch that tattoo again, and you'll be pulling back a broken hand." Everything paused. Chairs scraped, glasses stilled. The music choked mid-riff. The soldier turned, confused. 3 SEALs had risen. Roland stepped forward. Quan's hand hovered near his sidearm. Dana pointed. "That mark? That's not a joke. That's a graveyard." The brash soldier blinked. What are you talking about?" Dana didn't blink. "I lost 2 brothers to what that tattoo represents." Silence cracked across the tavern like a whip. Eden exhaled slowly. Her hand dropped to her lap. The brash soldier backed off, retreating toward his group. They looked smaller now. No one laughed. The room hadn't cooled, but the sweat on their backs turned cold. "She led the Ember team," Roland said, low enough for only a few to hear. "Only one who walked out of that tunnel with hostages still breathing." Someone dropped a glass. From the corner of the room, a camera phone clicked. The photo would hit a closed forum within minutes. A tattoo, a face, 3 veterans standing guard. And soon, someone would comment beneath it, "That code's not dead. It's still active." And then things would really begin. But back in Rustwood, for now, everything stayed still. Eden reached for her pint at last, took a sip. "You okay?" Dana asked. Eden nodded. "They're just kids, not after tonight." Outside, the night wind howled past the windows, and for the first time since 2016, Eden Wolfe felt something shift, like a line drawn between past and present had just begun to blur. Captain Roland Shaw didn't sit back down. His frame remained still, arms folded across his chest, boots planted shoulder-width apart like he was waiting for a chopper to land. The room had settled into a simmering hush. Even the jukebox, which moments earlier had blasted classic rock, now crackled quietly as if unsure whether it was still welcome. The soldier who'd reached for Eden's wrist sat hunched over, no longer grinning. His friends gave him space. No one wanted to inherit his shame by proximity. Eden said nothing. She never did unless it mattered. A waitress approached cautiously. You folks okay?" Roland glanced at her. "We're good, just a little misunderstanding." But the waitress lingered, her eyes flitted to the tattoo. "You know what that means?" she asked, voice low. "My cousin served. He said if you ever see numbers like that, best not to ask." Dana Rourke replied before Eden could. "Your cousin's right." The woman gave a tight nod and vanished into the back. At the center table, the younger soldiers whispered. One of them, nervous and fidgeting, pulled out his phone and typed the numbers into a search bar. Of course, nothing came up. Not on public records, not on any military wiki. Nothing legitimate would. But as the screen loaded, something strange happened. An anonymous post appeared in the results, buried in an old thread on a forgotten forum, 7312K 842. If you know, you stay silent. The soldier's thumb trembled. He locked his phone. At the far side of Rustwood Tavern, another man watched everything. He wasn't part of the SEALs. He wasn't even drinking. Just a lean, older figure seated alone, wearing a worn field jacket and a pair of tactical boots too clean for a retiree. His name was Alan Marquez, former CIA liaison for Forward Ops in the Horn of Africa. He hadn't expected to run into her here. Marquez leaned forward, narrowing his eyes on the tattoo. He reached into his coat, pulled out a worn notebook, and turned to a marked page. There it was, 7312K 842. The same code was last reported from the failed Gaddafi Ridge mission, believed dead along with the entire Ember team. But Eden Wolfe was here. Alive, breathing, and just like back then, silent. He stood, left a bill on the table, and disappeared into the hallway. Back in Eden's corner, the 3 SEALs finally sat. Eden sipped her drink again. Her hands didn't shake. "You could have let it go," she murmured to Roland, "and watched a puppy piss on a battlefield memorial." "No thanks." Felix Quan chuckled, then caught himself. "Sorry, reflex." Eden's lips curved slightly. "I remember. You always laughed when the pressure peaked. Still do." Dana leaned forward. "Why here, Eden? Why now?" Eden didn't answer immediately. She stared at the old dartboard across the room, at the cracked glass above it reflecting ghosts. "I got tired of hiding," she said finally. "Tired of seeing boys wearing uniforms without knowing what they mean." Roland nodded. "You chose a hell of a place to remind them." Eden traced her finger along the rim of her glass. Her voice dropped. "Someone's digging. I've felt it. Online chatter. Encrypted messages bouncing through old channels. Ember's name keeps surfacing, not just vets whispering. New flags, new targets. The seals went still." "How sure are you?" Felix asked. "Sure enough, that when I saw those kids laugh at my wrist, I thought, maybe it's time they learned what it cost." A silence settled. Not tension, just the heaviness of recognition. Outside, the wind howled again. Then the TV behind the bar, long forgotten, flickered to breaking news. The bartender turned it up. "Intelligence agencies report the early interception of a coordinated attack targeting a UN convoy near Mogadishu, a small explosive cell, apparently rooted in a reformed faction once thought neutralized in the 2016 Silent Rain offensive." The room went cold. The screen showed satellite footage of a convoy being rerouted. Then a grainy emblem appeared. Fuzzy, dark, a broken triangle. Every seal in the room inhaled sharply. Dana stood up. "That's Ember. That's your unit's insignia." Eden said nothing. A whisper from one of the younger soldiers. "That's the same shape from her tattoo." The connection was made, audible, inevitable. Eden set her drink down. "Now you see why I don't explain," she said softly. At that exact moment, a sharp gust of air blasted the tavern's front door open. Someone had stepped inside, or perhaps the wind had done it. Everyone turned, but no one entered. Just an empty threshold. And yet the room felt ... watched. Marquez was already gone. Out of the side alley, making calls no one else could trace. In the corner, Eden reached into her coat. For a second, everyone tensed, but it was only a coin, dented, scarred, engraved with the same numbers as her tattoo. She spun it once on the table. "If they're coming back," she said, "then we don't wait." Roland leaned forward. "You want to rebuild Ember?" Eden looked at him, not surprised. Not excited, just resolved. "Not rebuild," she said. "Finish what we started." And somewhere far beyond Rustwood, a signal pinged, encrypted, received, acknowledged. The satellite footage on the bar's TV looped again, flickering grainy static before replaying the emblem. A jagged triangle inside a fractured circle. It wasn't just a symbol, it was a ghost. The younger soldiers at the main table weren't laughing anymore. Their drinks sat untouched. Their eyes darted from Eden's tattoo to the TV screen, then back to the trio of seals flanking her like an honor guard. Eden spun the coin once more, let it clatter to a stop. "If they're coming back," she repeated, "then we don't wait." Captain Roland Shaw leaned forward, his elbows on the table. He hadn't looked this alert since a Black Hawk extraction under live fire in Syria. "You said chatter," he said. "How much?" "Enough to map a pattern. Old safe houses reactivated. Shell accounts transfer money. I don't know who's backing them, but someone is." Dana Rourke stood behind Eden, arms crossed, her jaw flexing. "And that symbol, it's not just re-emerging, it's being used." Felix Kwan tilted his beer, watching the foam swirl. "I thought Ember was buried," he muttered. "Our team, our history." Eden didn't blink. Buried things don't stay buried when you leave them unfinished. Behind the bar, the bartender was still watching the news. Another image flashed, a convoy of armed trucks crossing a dirt road near the Somali border. "Pause it," Roland said, standing. The bartender hesitated. "Now." He paused the screen. The frame froze on a vehicle. It was subtle, but there. Graffiti sprayed in red across the side panel. K842. Kwan's knuckles turned white on his glass. "That's not a coincidence." Eden nodded. "It's a message. To us." Silence fell again. Across the room, the soldier who had mocked her earlier rubbed his temples. He looked like someone who'd just remembered a dream where something terrible was chasing him, but too late to run. "I didn't know," he muttered to no one in particular. Eden didn't look at him. She turned to Roland. "I need access, secure comms, old contact lists, names that haven't been touched in years. You think they'll respond?" "Not to me," she said, "but to the mark." She rolled her sleeve higher, revealing the full tattoo. Not just numbers in the triangle, but what surrounded them. A ring of names, initials, call signs, dead and living. Those who had gone into Gaddafi Ridge, only 4 had made it out. 1 had vanished. The rest were buried beneath 300 feet of collapsed tunnels, their story never declassified, never honored. "They'll come," Eden whispered. "If they see it, they'll know it's real." Dana stepped forward. "Then we don't waste time." 2 hours later, Rustwood Tavern was nearly empty. The bartender had closed early without question. Outside, wind gusted dust through the broken streetlight, sending papers and cigarette butts skittering along the sidewalk. Inside, the SEALs gathered around Eden. They had cleared a back table, pulled out a weathered sat phone, a signal booster, and a hardened tablet. Felix Kwan handled the uplink. He was always the tech mind among them. It took minutes to breach their old network, something they weren't supposed to still have access to. "We're ghosts," he muttered, fingers flying. "No one's watching for ghosts." He hit send. A pulsed signal, encrypted, repeated thrice. 7,312K, 842 active. Code black. All call, then silence. They waited. 10 minutes, 15. Then the screen blinked. Received. Another. Acknowledged. Then a third. Racking 7,312K, 842. Prepare for regroup. The clock starts at 0. You lead. H. Eden stared at the letter. H. Only one person used that signature. "Helix," she said under her breath. Roland looked up sharply. "He's still alive?" "Apparently." Dana shook her head. "If Helix is on the grid again, this is bigger than retribution." Eden turned to the others. "Then we start pulling files. Every survivor, every contact. We move in shadows until we're ready. No one else knows." Felix opened a map. "Where's the breach point?" She tapped it without hesitation. Galmudug. Old Russian fort. Disused. Empty on paper. But their funding routes circle that zone. It's a hub. "We'll need to move fast," Roland added. "If they're deploying cells again, they won't stay dormant long." Outside, a black SUV coasted by without lights. No one inside Rustwood noticed. An hour later, a car pulled up behind the tavern. A woman stepped out. Military boots, civilian jeans, a brown field jacket zipped to the throat. She entered without knocking. Her eyes scanned the room, landed on Eden. "Wolfe," she said. Eden rose slowly. "Bishop, Captain Lee Bishop, former sniper, Ember's ghost arm, long thought Kia after Silent Rain." "You lit the beacon," Bishop said. "You better be ready for what follows." "We don't light it unless it's coming." They stared at each other for a beat, then embraced. Tight, brief warrior's code. "How many more?" Roland asked. Bishop pulled a flash drive from her coat. 3 confirmed en route, 2 silent, 1 presumed turned. Dana frowned. "Turned?" "Saw their name pop in an arms deal between Djibouti and Yemen." "Can't be sure." Felix grunted. "Which one?" "Falcon." The room darkened like a cloud had passed over it. "Falcon. Ember's demo lead." If he'd switched sides... Eden picked up the coin again. Her fingers curled around it. "If he's alive," she said, "we bring him back, or we put him down." No one argued. From outside came a knock. 3 short taps, then 2 long, then 1. A pause, then again. Eden's eyes sharpened. "That's the Ember signal." The door opened, and 3 more ghosts walked in. They called themselves ghosts, but the moment the door opened and those 3 men stepped into Rustwood Tavern, the room felt alive with old fire. Eden Wolfe stood first. Reed, Vance, Darbo. None of them smiled. Reed was lean, tall, his fatigues clean but boots scuffed from travel. Vance was broader, his shoulders still holding tension like a man never left the battlefield. Darbo, the comms specialist, carried a small duffel-slung crossbody, a single patch stitched near the zipper, K842. No handshakes, just nods. "Still breathing," Vance muttered. "That counts." "We got your signal," Darbo added. "Didn't think I'd ever see it again." Eden motioned them toward the table. Roland Shaw stood, made room. The others followed. Soon 8 ghosts were seated in a tavern lit only by old bulbs and older stories. Felix Kwan pulled up the encrypted map again. Darbo leaned in immediately, tapping 2 coordinates. "These relay towers are new, satellite blind spots. Someone's masking comms. We never needed that during the first run." Dana Rourke looked to Eden. "What's the plan?" Eden's fingers traced the edge of the coin again. The coin had traveled through more wars than she cared to count. "We confirm the base at Galmadug, then we map their new structure. Identify who's funding it. Cut the snake off at the head," Reed grunted. "And what if Falcon is the head?" Silence followed. Eden's jaw clenched. "Then we finish it." No hesitation. "Agreed," Roland said. Outside, 2 cars rolled by slowly, lights off. Inside, Darbo slid open his duffel and pulled out an old SAT relay. He patched it into the booster Felix had rigged earlier. The signal beeped once, then pulsed green. "I've got cross-chatter on shortwave," he said, "encrypted with an old Spectre 9 cipher. That's high level. No way this is just some rogue faction." Eden's eyes narrowed. "Someone's bankrolling them. Big time," Darbo said. "And they're preparing to move." Roland leaned in. "Targets? They're bouncing references to ports. East Africa. Weapons-grade shipments. Disguised as humanitarian aid. Then we hit them in transit," Bishop said. Eden nodded. "We split. 2 teams, 1 to surveil Galmadug, 1 to track the port route." Dana unfolded a secondary map. "I'll take the port route. I know the corridors through Merca." "I'll go with her," Vance offered. "She needs cover. Bishop and I will run Galmadug." Eden said, "It's our old ground." Roland didn't hesitate. "Then Kwan, Reed and Darbo will establish an intel relay from Nairobi. Quietly. If this goes global, we need distance." "Done," Reed said. As the plan solidified, a weight lifted, not relief, but focus. For the first time since 2016, they were in motion again. Darbo tapped at his terminal. "One more thing," he said. "There's a voice ID on some of these encrypted files." He pressed play. "Static. Then you shouldn't have come back. But now that you have, let's finish it the right way." The voice. Falcon. It sent a chill down every set of ribs in the room. "He knows we're moving," Dana muttered. "He wants us to," Eden replied. Outside, thunder cracked, not from the sky, but from something deeper. Like a freight train rolling through the horizon. 3 hours later, Eden and Bishop boarded a transport plane out of a civilian airstrip under forged names. Their gear was minimal, civilian clothing over armored plating, cash, burner phones. Eden carried the coin and the original copy of the Ember Manifest, a list of every operative ever cleared for the 2016 mission. Some names were crossed out, some underlined. "You think Falcon really turned?" Bishop asked mid-flight. Eden didn't answer right away. He was loyal. "But something broke in that ridge. We all broke." Eden nodded. "But some of us put the pieces back. Some let others pick them up." Bishop exhaled. "If I have to put him down, we both will." Back in Merca, Dana and Vance reached the outskirts of the port, posing as relief workers. The docks were guarded by militia with no uniforms, but with clean weapons. Too clean. "See that?" Dana whispered. "Those are US model suppressors. No aid group has that." "Smugglers?" "Military-backed smugglers. They watched containers being loaded into unmarked trucks." Vance tapped his phone once. Signal sent. In Nairobi, Kwan and Darbo caught it instantly. Confirmed, Kwan said. Shipment en route. They've got a corridor lined up with clean IDs and border passes. Whoever's behind this, they've got clearance. High up. Reed looked up from the laptop. They're not hiding anymore. They're challenging us. And we'll answer, Kwan said. At dawn, Eden and Bishop landed near the ruins of Galmudug. The place looked abandoned, dust-covered, a husk of old Soviet concrete. But as they drew closer, they saw movement, too structured to be scavengers. 2 guards. One sniper nest is barely camouflaged. Still active, Eden whispered. Let's get eyes inside. They took to the rocks, crawled low and timed their steps. As the sun rose, the old fort came into full view, rebuilt from the inside. Power lines, satellite uplinks, and guards with no patches. Falcon's building something, Bishop said. Eden's jaw tightened. Then we tear it down. And far behind them, in a safe house in Nairobi, Darbo's monitor lit up with new incoming data. An operation, a date, a target. It was no longer defensive. Falcon was about to strike first. The outer walls of the Galmudug base were cracked, scorched from old wars, but the silence that wrapped around them now felt surgical, clean, controlled. Eden Wolfe crouched behind a mound of broken concrete with Bishop at her side, both watching the rhythm of the patrol shifts with predator precision. 2-minute intervals, Bishop whispered. No radio chatter, all hand signals. That's military discipline, not merc work. Eden nodded. Falcon's rebuilt with structure. He's not hiding. He's staging. Below them, inside the walls, men moved efficiently, carting crates, unloading steel containers, welding reinforcements along bunker doors. The symbol was everywhere, the broken triangle inside the grey circle. Only now it had evolved. Red edges flared from the cracks like flame. They've rebranded the old insignia, Bishop muttered. They're proud of it. Eden adjusted the scope of her camera and took 20 rapid shots. Evidence. Once we confirm what's inside those crates, we ghost back. We're not equipped for breach. Not yet, Bishop corrected. Eden smirked. Still the optimist. Just as she lifted the lens again, her earpiece clicked. Darbo's voice crackled through. Package just moved. Truck convoy heading south. Real time from the port team. Target confirmed. Advanced guidance modules. Those things don't go to market unless someone's building a long-range launch. Bishop exhaled. He's not just rebuilding Ember, he's weaponizing it. Merca, East African coast, Dana and Vance tailed the convoy through the outer hills, moving parallel along worn jungle roads. The trucks were disguised under tarps and faded humanitarian stamps, but the men riding shotgun wore tactical vests and AR pattern rifles. 5 trucks, Dana whispered. That's enough hardware to destabilize half a country. Vance leaned closer with binoculars, confirming 4 crates per truck. If those are guidance modules, we're not looking at raids, we're looking at a missile network. Dana adjusted her mic. Nairobi team, cross-reference these container IDs with known manifest fraud rings. Back in Nairobi, Felix Kwan sat in a dim hotel room filled with laptop screens. Running it now. Wait, these serials match a charity that folded 3 years ago. They've been repurposed on at least 5 continents. Darbo cursed softly. They're building a global delivery system. Galmudug, Eden and Bishop began their retreat, memorizing exit paths. But as they rounded the ridge, something shifted. A single bird cry echoed. Too sharp, too isolated. Down! Eden hissed. They dropped seconds before the first round tore the air above. A sniper, silenced. The bullet struck the rock behind them with a thwack. They rolled into cover as more shots peppered the edge. They've got outer sentries, Bishop said through gritted teeth. We missed one. Eden scanned through her scope. There, northwest ridge. Nest dug into the rusted radio tower. Bishop unholstered her suppressed sidearm and passed Eden a folded mirror. Cover me. Eden shifted and popped a quick distraction shot. Bishop moved fast, crawling at an angle, looping wide. 30 seconds, 50, then pop, silence. Eden waited. Bishop's voice returned in her earpiece. Nest cleared. Eden exhaled. Good kill, not good, just necessary. They began their descent, careful not to retrace their original path. On the way down, Bishop spotted a half-buried crate in the brush, unmarked. They opened it. Inside, hundreds of identical coins, black steel, engraved with 7,312K, 842. Recruits, Eden murmured. This is initiation. He's mass-producing identity. Bishop pulled one out. Have you ever felt like we started something we didn't finish? No, Eden said. We finished it. He just couldn't accept the ending. Later that night, Nairobi Safe House, 8 members of the resurrected Ember team now sat in grim formation. The recon images from Galmudug flickered across the screen. The coin from the crate sat in the center of the table. Reed broke the silence. This is no cell. It's a movement. Military doctrine. Distributed supply lines. Psychological branding, Felix added. This is strategic. Bishop folded her arms. We have 2 weeks, at best, before these launch modules reach operational range. Dana leaned forward. We either strike Galmudug directly or intercept the trucks before they vanish into rogue territories. Eden stood. We do both. All eyes turned to her. 2 teams, she said. One leads a surgical breach of Galmudug, disable their infrastructure, seize data. The other intercepts the shipment. We cut them at both ends. Roland Shaw nodded. It's risky. But if we hit them at the same time, they won't have fallback options. Vance asked, and if Falcon is there? Eden's gaze didn't waver. Then I end it, myself. The room went quiet. Reed looked up. Then we move fast, because we're not the only ones preparing. On the outskirts of Galmudug, inside a dim command room surrounded by reinforced steel, a man stood before a wall of screens. Falcon, his beard was trimmed now, uniform black. The broken triangle emblem was freshly stitched on his chest. One of his lieutenants approached. Surveillance nest neutralized. The scouts didn't return. Falcon didn't turn. They'll come. That's what they do. He stared at a still image captured earlier that day. Eden Wolfe, you think I forgot, he murmured, but I never did. He reached into his desk, pulled out a single battered coin, the original. His fingers closed around it. Then he whispered, let's finish this. The wind over the Galmudug plain carried heat and silence in equal measure. At dawn, the desert shifted colors from burnt amber to ash gray, while 2 convoys moved in opposite directions across the continent, unseen by satellites and unsanctioned by governments. The Ember team had officially gone off-grid. Eden Wolfe stood beside a rusted flatbed truck, disguised as a water tanker. Her clothes were civilian. Khaki utility pants, faded black tee, hair tucked beneath a headscarf, but beneath the layers she carried old scars and newer steel. Across from her, Roland Shaw adjusted the sights on a suppressed carbine. 1 strike team, 4 hours to breach and extract, he said. Then we blow the inner core. Eden nodded. No one left behind. No mercy for what stands in our way. Bishop loaded detonators into her pack. You think Falcon's inside? He'll be watching. If he's smart, he'll run. He won't run, Roland said. He built this. People don't abandon altars they've carved in their own name. Meanwhile, 200 kilometers south, Dana and Vance rode shotgun in a disguised aid vehicle tailing the munitions convoy. They blended in with a UN food transport detail, counterfeit IDs tucked in their boots. Their eyes scanned every turnoff, every shadow. ETA on intercept? Dana asked over encrypted comms. Darbo's voice came through. 2 hours. The convoy splitting in 30 minutes. They'll disperse across 3 borders. You stop them now or never. Vance loaded armor-piercing rounds into a modular rifle. Let's go hunting. Back at the Nairobi command node, Felix Kwan sat in a pitch-black room illuminated only by screens. Data streamed across in 6 languages. Every message was a warning. Movement, cargo, payments, a name. One screen blinked red. Incoming transmission. It was from a dormant Ember channel, coded, buried, and supposedly destroyed. He opened it. Audio only. 4 words. She's walking into fire. Then silence. Kwan immediately pinged Eden's team. "Heads up," he said. "You've been flagged. Internal source. Someone inside knows your location." Eden's expression didn't change. "Then we go faster." Galmadug. T-2 hours, the strike team advanced under the cover of crumbling walls and ghost architecture. Eden, Roland, and Bishop split into a triangle formation, their entry point, a breached maintenance tunnel once used for Soviet supply chains. Inside, the corridors were colder, tighter. New wiring ran along old rebar. The scent of oil and steel hung thick. "Multiple heat signatures," Bishop whispered. She pointed to her scanner. "At least 20 guards, plus 2 secondary clusters. 1 large, probably logistics, 1 deep, secure room." "Falcon," Eden said. They moved. 2 guards passed. Roland incapacitated one with a chokehold, and Eden stunned the other. Clean, silent. They breached the logistics room first. Crates of guidance modules, target software, encoded drives. Bishop began uploading data. 10 minutes, she said. Eden's eyes lingered on one crate, stamped with the same serials they saw in Merca. This was the source. Then came a sound, a slow, deliberate clap. From the shadows stepped Falcon. He looked older, paler, but his posture held. A commander returned. "Eden Wolfe," he said. "I was wondering how many ghosts it would take before you showed up yourself." Roland raised his weapon. "You're outnumbered." Falcon smiled. "I never cared for odds. Just the end game." Bishop stepped left. "Drop the act. You're done." He ignored her. "You know what I realized after Gaddafi Ridge? No one's coming to save us. No one ever was. We die alone, unless we build something they can't ignore." "You built a death cult," Eden said. "Out of our dead. Out of their names." "I built continuity," he said. "You walked away. I endured. They followed me." Eden lowered her weapon slightly. "Then tell them to leave. End this." Falcon paused. "No, but I'll give you the same chance I gave the others. Walk away. Let history write what it wants. We'll be the shadow they never see coming." Bishop laughed. "You want her to join you? After this?" He looked at Eden. "You already did once." For a moment, silence. Then Eden pulled the coin from her pocket and threw it to the floor. Not anymore. Falcon moved. So did they. The firefight exploded fast. Controlled chaos. Roland dropped 2 guards. Bishop hit the lights. Eden flanked Falcon, driving him into the fallback corridor. He retreated to a side room, reinforced. A single blast door sealed behind him. "Fall back!" Eden shouted. "Secondary route!" They regrouped in the logistics bay. Bishop grabbed the drive. "We've got what we need. Blow the core and go." Eden looked at the sealed room. "Next time," she whispered. Southern Intercept Zone Dana and Vance sprung their trap. Spike strips shredded the lead truck's tires. Smoke grenades disoriented the others. Gunfire erupted. Vance dropped 3 targets with precision shots. Dana moved on the flank, flinging a flashbang and breaching the middle vehicle. Inside, modules, 4, intact. She tagged them, packages secured, transmitting location. Back in Nairobi, Kwan locked coordinates. "Extraction team inbound. 30 minutes, we'll hold." Vance reloaded. "They'll send reinforcements." Dana narrowed her eyes at the horizon. "Let them come. Back in Galmadug." Eden and her team placed charges along structural points. Roland set timers. Bishop monitored rear positions. 2 minutes, Roland said. "Then this place goes dark." As they reached the exit tunnel, Eden paused. On a nearby wall, scrawled in paint, "We end in fire." She stared at it for a beat, then walked on, As the team cleared the ridge, the base erupted behind them, an inferno blooming into the sky, the broken triangle emblem incinerated by its own ambition. Falcon had escaped, but his sanctuary was gone. Eden didn't slow her stride. "Round one's over," she said. "Now we hunt." Behind her, Bishop smiled coldly. "Let's finish the war they never saw coming." The night after Galmudug burned was unnaturally quiet. Eden Wolfe sat alone on the roof of the Nairobi safe house, her legs stretched out, arms resting on her knees, the wind tugging gently at her scarf. Below her, the city blinked with oblivious lights. Traffic still moved, radio still played, and children still laughed in pockets of peace. No one knew a war had restarted. Behind her, footsteps approached. Bishop. She sat down without asking. "We crippled his base, disrupted his supply chain, and exposed his symbol to every major intelligence channel," Bishop said. "You should be smiling." Eden didn't move. "We didn't get him." A pause. "We will." Eden turned slightly. "He saw me. That wasn't a leader directing from the shadows. That was personal." Bishop leaned back. "You think he's planning something now?" Eden nodded. "He's already moving." "He knew we'd hit Galmudug. He wanted us to." That same night, across the border in a city whose name didn't appear on most maps, Falcon stood inside a subterranean command center, a mirror to the one Eden had just destroyed. But this one was deeper, colder, built not to command but to vanish. A lieutenant approached. "The Nairobi breach team is being tracked. Their communications aren't clean. One of them is leaking." Falcon's eyes narrowed. "Who?" "We're triangulating." The transmission came from within their comm relay zone. Nairobi safe house. Falcon turned to a black screen. "Show me." The screen lit up, a signal pulse, short, silent, but encoded with old Ember tech. He smiled darkly. One of them still remembers who gave them purpose. The next morning, Darbo burst into the Nairobi operations room, a satellite phone in one hand, his face pale. "We've been burned." Felix looked up. "What?" The Nairobi safehouse's signal was pinged by 3 ghost servers, 2 of them from Falcon's old network. "He's watching. He knew our protocols. He bypassed the layers." Eden entered just in time to hear, "So he has eyes on our fallback position." "Worse," Darbo said. "He's feeding it. Someone inside sent an outbound ping last night." The room froze. Felix whispered, "A mole." Eden turned to the board, who had access to the secure comm layer. Felix listed them. Darbo, Quan, Bishop, Vance, Reed. Bishop raised her brow. "Run the logs." Within minutes, a screen highlighted an anomaly. An encrypted transfer made from a side console during the Galmudug strike. "That's Reed's access ID," Quan said quietly. Eden's eyes narrowed. "Where is he now?" "He left 2 hours ago. Said he was verifying contact with Helix." "We don't have contact with Helix," Eden said. "No one's heard from him since his one-line response." Bishop drew her sidearm. "Then Reed just painted a target on all our backs." Reed stood alone in a market square near the border. He wore civilian clothes, his ember coin strung on a cord around his neck. His eyes scanned the alleys. From the shadows emerged a courier, a girl no older than 16, dressed like a vendor. She handed him a sealed envelope and walked away. Reed opened it. Inside, coordinates, a flash drive, and a handwritten note. "Trust is the deadliest illusion. The war never ended, it just changed names. Finish what we started." Below it, one line of Ember code. RZ-17. Exfil ready. South Bastion. 0600. Reed tucked the drive into his boot, slipped into the crowd, and vanished. Back in Nairobi, Eden and Bishop packed quickly. Felix and Darbo worked furiously to wipe the local servers. Vance and Dana secured the perimeter. Eden's voice was ice. "We evacuate in 40. New safe house across the Gulf. We split teams again, minimal digital footprint." Reed compromised our sequence. Falcon now knows our routing logic. We still have leverage, Bishop said. We still have the drive from Galmadug. Eden shook her head. That data's valuable, yes, but if Reed's running it to Falcon, he knows what we took. He'll adjust. Darbo looked up. Then we don't run. We bait. Everyone turned to him. What if we stage a fragment leak? Make it look like we're coordinating an arms exchange with another faction. Something loud, something sloppy. Falcon will move to intercept. Eden considered. He won't send troops. He'll send one of his inner circle. And we bag them, Dana said. Flip them or follow them. Felix nodded slowly. We'd need to make the leak convincing. Cross posts, inconsistencies, tension. I'll write it, Darbo said. I know how Falcon thinks. By nightfall, the Ember team had relocated to a mountain pass near the Gulf. The terrain was treacherous, sharp ravines, sand-choked air, but it was perfect for an ambush. Darbo sent out the false intel. Within hours, multiple shell accounts picked up the bait. Felix monitored the chatter. He bit. Signal from his second-in-command, call sign Cinder. New name, Bishop said. New identity, real name unknown. But lethal. This one ran the border ops in Merca. Eden loaded a compact carbine. Then she knows our rhythm. At 0200 hours, a vehicle approached the trade pass. 3 men inside, 1 woman in the rear. Black hair, tactical gear. Cinder. She exited first, scanning the rocks. They're not here, she said. Maybe it was noise. She shook her head. No, this is a trap. She turned. Too late. Bishop dropped the first escort with a tranquilizer dart. Dana took the second. Cinder lunged for her pistol, but Eden was already behind her. Don't, Eden said. We need you awake. Cinder smirked. You're slower than you used to be. Eden drove her elbow into Cinder's gut. The woman gasped and fell. The team moved in, bound her and extracted her to the ridge hideout. Hours later, Cinder sat cuffed in the dark, blood dried on her lip. Eden stood before her. Talk. Kill me. No. You're going to walk me back to your ghost king. Cinder laughed. He'll kill me for failing. Then help us make it count. For the first time, Cinder faltered. Bishop entered. We have the logs, your signal routes. We can trace them. You give us nothing, you disappear. You talk, you live. Simple math. Cinder looked up. And what happens if I lead you there? Eden stepped forward. Then you get to see what justice looks like. Cinder stared at her for a long time, then whispered, You're going to need a boat. From somewhere far away, Reed stood at the edge of a cliff, watching ships pass below. The flash drive was gone, but he wasn't done. He tapped his earpiece once. They're coming, a voice answered. Let them. We're ready. The boat rocked gently in the pre-dawn surf, its engine barely humming beneath the roar of waves against the East African shoreline. Eden Wolfe stood at the bow, a low silhouette against a purple-grey sky, her fingers clenched around the worn steel railing. Behind her, Bishop checked their weapons. Navigation says we're 2 hours out. You sure about this? Eden didn't turn. Cinder didn't blink when she gave the name. Vraxel, an island that doesn't appear on any map. That's where Falcon's hiding. Darbo, seated near the comms case, glanced up. We're sailing into a ghost zone. Last signal bounce from that direction ended in static and a burnt satellite. Exactly, Eden said. He's hiding in the one place no one would look twice. Cinder was secured below deck. They hadn't trusted her enough to keep her topside, but she hadn't fought them since the takedown. Her last words before boarding stuck in Eden's mind. He built Vraxel for one purpose, the ending. Hours later, land appeared. A jagged ring of cliffs and jungle, impossible to dock without local knowledge. Bishop steered wide, aiming for a narrow inlet hidden behind limestone ridges. The water grew still, oppressively so. Darbo watched the sonar. This is wrong. There's no return echo past 70 meters. That's deep, artificial. As they cut the motor and drifted in, Eden peered through binoculars. Structures inland, not huts, hardened, camouflaged. "We're looking at a military-grade hide." They anchored and moved ashore with silent efficiency. 4 operatives, former ghosts of war, returned to the shadows. The jungle pressed close, heavy with moisture and insects. Tracks appeared quickly. Boot prints, vehicle ruts, crushed foliage. "This place is active," Bishop whispered. "Very active." They reached the ridge by late afternoon. What unfolded before them was startling. An entire facility carved into the island's core. Multiple entrances, aerial towers camouflaged by tree canopy, solar arrays hidden beneath false leaves. Falcon's fortress. Darbo exhaled. "This isn't a hideout. It's a command center." Eden raised her scope. "I count 6 roving patrols, infrared arrays, possibly drones." Bishop tapped Eden's arm. "Incoming." They ducked low as a patrol vehicle rolled beneath the ridge. A black armored truck with no license, a shattered triangle etched onto its fender. "They're guarding something more than a leader," Eden said. "They're guarding a plan." Night fell quickly. They made camp on the cliff ledge, out of sensor range. Darbo worked quietly to jam outgoing transmissions without tripping inbound flags. Bishop sharpened a combat knife against the stone. Eden sat with the Ember Manifest open in her lap. She crossed out another name. "Reed's still dark?" she asked quietly. Felix answered through the earpiece. "No trace since the market pickup, but we've intercepted encrypted bursts between Vraxel and an unknown relay point in the Gulf. Might be him, might be nothing." Eden whispered. "It's never nothing." At 0200, they breached the perimeter. It took 15 minutes to bypass the outer wall. Bishop disabled 2 cameras with timed EMP bursts. Eden cut through mesh wiring with a thermal blade. They slipped into the corridor. The interior was sterile. Smooth concrete walls, white lighting, clean air systems, not a bunker, a lab. Darbo checked the consoles, data cores encrypted, military firmware, Falcon's signature. Eden downloaded what she could, dragging files into portable storage. On one screen, a blueprint appeared. She froze. "That's not a missile," Bishop whispered. Eden shook her head. "It's a targeting array, satellite locked." Darbo narrowed his eyes. "You could use that to coordinate multi-city strikes, globally, simultaneously." The lights flickered. "We've got company," Bishop warned. Footsteps echoed. Eden drew her pistol. "Cover me, I'll finish the pull." 2 guards entered. Bishop and Darbo dropped them before the first shot rang. Alarms flared. Red strobes bathed the room. Eden grabbed the drives. "Go!" They sprinted into the lower tunnels, retracing their entry. But at the final turn, Reed stood waiting, not aiming, not angry, just waiting. Eden raised her weapon. "Step aside." Reed looked tired, weathered, but his voice was calm. "He knows you're here. He wants you to be." Then he's about to be disappointed. Reed held up a small chip. "Take this. It's everything. Full schematics, his fallback locations, his encrypted backups." Bishop frowned. "Why?" Reed looked at Eden. "Because I didn't betray Ember. I infiltrated him, the only way to get close. I had to let you believe I flipped. He only trusts the broken." Eden stared at the chip. "Proof? Scan it. Felix will verify the encryption tree. It's Helix's root key." I stole it back. A long pause. Then Eden lowered her pistol. "We extract together. One mistake, then you put me down," Reed said. Darbo grunted. "Gladly." They moved fast, alarm still screaming. On the beach, their extraction boat waited, autopiloted and drone camouflaged. As they boarded, Eden turned back once. Above the tree line, the triangle symbol burned red on a rising tower. She spoke into her mic. "Felix, scramble, leak the array schematics anonymously. Hit every watchdog group, every whistleblower circuit. Let the world know what's coming." "You sure?" Felix asked. Falcon built his fortress in silence. Let's drown it in noise. As the boat peeled away from Vraxel, the team sat in grim silence. Reed sat alone, cuffed but unresisting. Eden didn't look at him. Not yet. They had survived. Again. But this time the world would hear. The moment Eden Wolfe stepped off the boat onto mainland soil, the world had already shifted. 3 hours earlier, the leak had gone live. A full cascade of Falcon's plans, satellite coordination arrays, tactical strike patterns, infrastructure blueprints, hit every major leak site, whistleblower collective, and secure journalist inbox in the world. It trended within minutes. Military analysts woke to red alerts. Shadow agencies scrambled to wash their hands. And somewhere in a private bunker, Falcon watched his silence implode. He said nothing. He only closed his laptop, stood from the dim office, and ordered the fallback. Nairobi, 0600. The safe house was no longer safe. Eden's team relocated to a NATO-operated logistics hub under covert credentials. Reed remained in custody under Felix's watch, monitored 24/7, but Eden hadn't spoken to him since the escape from Vraxel. Not yet. She was focused on what came next. Falcon will scatter, Dana said. He'll burn the island, bury the traces, and pivot. He already did, Darbo confirmed. We tracked a controlled explosion on Vraxel's western node. He's wiping the evidence. Too late, Felix said. The leak's been mirrored 37 times. He can't erase it now. But Eden didn't look satisfied. Her eyes were on the board, on the names, maps, operation codes. She tapped one. This Site R7? It showed up twice in Reed's chip. Once as a fallback, once as a legacy access point. You think Falcon's going there? Bishop asked. No. I think he never left. Site R7 was a Cold War relic buried in the mountains between Sudan and Ethiopia, a forgotten NATO outpost sealed after the Soviet collapse. Supposedly uninhabitable. Supposedly, Felix confirmed that data packets were routed through that zone hours before the leak. It's live, he said, and whoever's in there is hiding behind NATO protocols. Eden made the call. We go in, all of us. Final push. We end this. Reed, still cuffed, looked up from the bench. You'll need me. Eden stared. One mistake, and I pull the trigger. Reed nodded once. Understood. They moved in 2 Blackhawks under satellite silence, off the grid, flanked by 2 ghost operative pilots with no names and clean records. The team reviewed layout blueprints mid-air, 5 levels, reinforced tunnels, primary command center buried 300 meters deep. We hit the access shaft, breach the core, locate Falcon, Eden said. No more escapes. If he's armed? Dana asked. We neutralize. If he runs, we chase. If he fights, we finish it, Bishop said. Eden didn't reply. She only loaded a single hollow point round into her pistol and chambered it. Site R7, T+0 they breached at night. No alarms, no resistance. Not at first. The outer facility looked abandoned. Dusty gear, rusted lighting, empty corridors. But the deeper they went, the cleaner it became. Lights flickered on automatically. Air systems activated. Someone's been living here, Darbo whispered. At level 3, the first shots rang. A single sniper, 1 shot, clean. But Bishop saw the glint. She returned fire. The body dropped from the upper scaffold, clad in Falcon's black gear. Clean, silent, no markings. Guards are still here, Vance muttered. Minimal crew, elite only. Eden nodded. He stripped down to the core. Level 4, secured. Level 5, sealed. Manual override, Reed said. I remember this lock. He changed the codes, but not the failsafe. He moved fast, guiding Felix through the bypass sequence. The door hissed open. The final floor was cold. Blue lights glowed on the concrete. The walls pulsed with server hums. And in the center, an old command room, updated with newer gear. Falcon sat waiting, unarmed. Took you long enough, he said. Eden stepped forward, weapon drawn. Don't move. He didn't. You leaked my system, he said. Good. The world needed to know how fragile their peace is. You built a war machine, Eden said. You buried it in graves and lies. I built insurance. You built a god complex. Falcon stood slowly. The team tensed, but he raised his hands. You want to shoot me, Eden? Do it. That's why you came. No, she said. I came to dismantle you. He smiled faintly. Then let me give you what you really came for. He reached into his jacket. Bishop stepped forward. Easy. But all he pulled out was a flash drive. This is the original, the keystone, every asset, every name, every traitor. It's yours. Eden didn't take it. Why give it up? Falcon's smile faded. Because this world doesn't want heroes. It only remembers the ones who set it on fire. I tried to be remembered. I failed, so now I give you the ashes. He dropped the drive, then raised his arms again. Do it. End it. Eden walked forward, picked up the drive. She stared at him for a long time, then holstered her weapon. You're not worth a bullet. Bishop cuffed him. We got him, Dana said, but Eden still looked unconvinced. She turned to Reed. Is that it? Reed's voice was quiet. He's got nothing left. Not without the network. But just as they turned to leave, a low boom echoed from beneath. Darbo looked up sharply. Secondary charge. Self-destruct. It's embedded in the server core. He set a kill switch. Falcon smirked. You thought I'd let you walk away with everything. I gave you a symbol. But the files? They're dying with me. Run! Eden shouted. They fled. The tunnel shook. Lights shattered. Smoke surged up the corridor. They reached the elevator shaft, but it was dead. Ladder! Emergency crawl! Vance shouted. They climbed. 10 meters, 20. The heat followed. Explosions echoed behind. Eden felt her ribs seize, her lungs scream. But she climbed. They burst onto the surface as flames chased them into the night. They collapsed in the dirt. Below them, Site R7 burned. A legacy turned to ash. Falcon gone. Nobody recovered. But Eden had the drive. 3 weeks later, the Ember team stood in a debriefing room in Geneva. The leak had changed the global game. Agencies were purged, policies rewritten, shadow funding exposed, but no one knew who started it. They never would. Eden watched the sun rise from a balcony. Bishop stepped beside her. They want you to speak at the UN. You going? Eden shook her head. I'm done talking, so what now? Eden smiled slightly. Now we find the next one, before they start again. Behind her the shadows moved, but this time they moved with her. 3 months had passed since the world almost blinked and didn't know it. The public fallout from the Falcon leak came in waves. Denials, investigations, a dozen governments quietly rearranging their backdoor deals. But the Ember team stayed quiet, hidden in the shadows, while the system they exposed scrambled to clean itself. Eden Wolfe didn't wait for the dust to settle. She moved. The mountains of northern Albania were quiet in winter. Snow blanketed old roads and half-collapsed bunkers, burying history under silence. In one of these bunkers, retooled with fiber-optic cable and encrypted routers, sat Eden. Her fingers moved across a laptop, bouncing signals through dead satellites. Her target, an active trafficking route disguised as a pharmaceutical supply line, flagged by keywords scraped from the recovered Falcon drive. 19 containers, 17 match ID fragments. You think this is one of his surviving nodes? Bishop's voice came through comms, speaking from her own post across the valley. If it's not, they're using his model. And that means someone picked up the baton. Great. Falcon DE and someone else grabs the fuse. That's how networks survive. Ideas don't die with the man. A moment of silence. So we dismantle the ideas. Eden's lips twitched. Not quite a smile. More like agreement in muscle form. We hit the convoy at dawn. Elsewhere in Marrakesh, Darbo met with an ex-banker turned data broker. The man stammered, sweat beading despite the cold drink in his hand. "I didn't know it was connected to Falcon. I thought it was just clean offshore work. Shell companies, real estate flips, stablecoins." Darbo slid a tablet across the table. The screen showed coordinates, shipping manifests, drone footage. One specific transaction from the account was tied to a foundation that didn't exist. "You funded a weapons crate disguised as cancer medicine. Don't say you didn't know." The man went pale. Darbo leaned forward. "You're going to redirect the funds to this account. Clean, visible. You're going to name names on a private record, and then you'll disappear. Not because we'll kill you, because they will." The man swallowed. "Where do I go?" Darbo stood. "Someplace no one cares enough to follow. Maybe go build a real clinic this time." He walked away, leaving the man to his own conscience. In a rural training village outside Ankara, Vance and Dana were breaking down a covert training facility. The cadets scattered quickly once their leaders were detained. Uniforms without insignia were burned in steel barrels. Dana flipped through a coded manual. They kept the doctrine: Ember-style formations, breach and hold, rotating shadow commands. Vance kicked over a box. Inside, black steel coins, same branding. Dana sighed. They worship what they never lived through. Until they do, they loaded the coins into a burn bag. Back to shadows. In Munich, Felix Kwan met with a whistleblower journalist, a quiet hotel bar, low lighting, the reporter, mid-30s, sharp eyes, dead phone. "You expect me to believe all this came from one unit?" Felix passed over a document packet. "You don't have to believe anything, just verify. When it checks out, publish. You've got the reach. And the risk. Your job was never safe, it was just silent." The reporter exhaled, then tucked the packet into her coat. "I'll vet it. If it holds, it holds." They clinked glasses once, then parted. No names exchanged. Eden watched the convoy crawl into a dead valley at sunrise. Trucks lined with tarps, armed riders on bikes. Bishop flanked from the east, Eden from the north. At 0700, they struck. Flashbangs first, drones second. No gunfire until the smoke. They moved like ghosts, efficient, quiet, invisible. In 20 minutes, the convoy was neutralized. They opened the trucks. Inside, no weapons. People, 37 men and women drugged, packed like cargo. Bishop cursed. Trafficking, not tactical. Eden's eyes darkened. Falcon's legacy didn't die. It fractured. They called for extraction. The survivors were airlifted within the hour. Eden stayed behind. At the edge of the road, she placed one of the old ember coins in the dirt. Not as a marker, as a warning. By nightfall, Eden returned to the outpost. The team met over a secure relay. Bishop, Darbo, Felix, Dana, Vance, each in a different corner of the world. Each is chasing ghosts. "We've taken down 7 cells in 12 weeks, Felix reported. "But the structure is adapting. They're learning from Falcon's mistakes." "No central command," Dana said. "Just ideology. Then we dismantle the myth," Eden replied. They all looked at her. "We were never meant to be heroes," she said. "We were meant to stop monsters, and that means we keep going. Not for medals, not for headlines, for the ones who never got out." No one disagreed. Eden closed her laptop. Outside, the snow began again. She looked at the dark sky. Somewhere out there, someone was planning to pick up the ashes. Not today, not while she still had fire left. A quiet snowfall blanketed the forest. Deep in the Pacific Northwest, where mountains swallowed radio signals and rivers ran like veins through pine and fog, a woman stepped out of a log cabin with a mug in hand. Eden Wolfe. Her hair now had more silver than black, her back curved a little more each year. But her eyes hadn't dulled, they simply watched more. She placed a single log on the outdoor fire pit, lit it, then sat. Behind her, the cabin was modest, no security systems, no panic rooms. A garden lined the windows. Fresh prints of deer surrounded the back fence. The only unusual thing was the metal box half buried beneath the porch. Inside that box, a coin, a drive, and a triangle carved in stone. The knock came softly. A young man, mid-20s, unsure posture, military haircut, eyes that had seen combat but didn't know where to place it. "Are you Wolfe?" he asked. Eden nodded. He held out a folded paper, a letter. "From someone named Reed. Said if I ever found myself truly lost, I should come here. Said you'd understand." Eden unfolded the note. There were only 2 lines. "Not all vaults hold secrets. Some hold beginnings. He's yours now." Eden looked back at the young man. She gestured to the bench beside her. He sat, quietly, nervously. She handed him a mug. Not of coffee, but a simple herbal tea. "What's your name?" she asked. "Adam. You carry pain, Adam. But you haven't let it rot you. That's rare." He didn't answer. "Just watched the fire. Reed told me you used to command something called Ember," he said after a while. "That it died? That you chose to let it." Eden nodded. "And now?" he asked. She looked at him, long and clear. "Now I teach." Months passed. Adam came every week. He chopped wood, learned how to track the sun across the ridgeline. He started asking less about missions, more about meaning. Less about violence, more about silence. And Eden taught, not with speeches, but with the example. She showed him how to recognize lies in body language, how to calm the breath before fear takes hold. She taught him to listen, really listen, to what wasn't being said. And sometimes when the fire burned low, she told stories of people with code names, of cities that vanished in silence, of nights where saving one child cost a piece of soul. She never named names, but Adam knew they were real. One spring morning, Adam came up the path. There was no smoke from the chimney. The door creaked open. Inside, a note. "Gone for a walk. If I'm not back by sundown, the key is buried beneath the oak. You'll know what to do." Adam waited all day. Eden didn't return. He dug beneath the oak. There, wrapped in cloth, was the metal box. And inside it, a coin, a drive, a triangle. Years later, in a refugee zone in Sudan, a small girl was pulled from a collapsed school by a foreign medic. He wore no insignia. He asked for no reward. But when he walked past a soldier, the man paused. "Where'd you learn to move like that?" The medic just smiled. And in the firelight that night, when he rolled up his sleeve to wash, a faint tattoo could be seen, a triangle, and 2 letters, AW. The next chapter had begun. Without noise, without war, but not without purpose. The echo continued. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. Somewhere along the coast of southern Chile, an abandoned radio tower blinked red through the storm. Hidden beneath its base, carved into the cliffside, was a concrete shell that once relayed signals during the Cold War. Now it served another purpose. Eden Wolfe stood alone in the entry shaft. No team, no comms, just her. Reed had sent the coordinates 6 hours before. "One last node," he'd said. "They're gathering what's left. Not a strike base, something more dangerous, a vault, a myth kept alive." He didn't say more. Didn't need to. Eden could see it in his eyes. He knew what this place meant. A place Falcon mentioned only once in passing. A site even Ember never confirmed. She moved quickly, bypassing old Russian locks, slithering through roots and decay. Her flashlight sliced through the wet dark, revealing wall stencils, some new, some ancient, marks from other eras, and one that stopped her breath, the triangle, sharp, black, scratched into steel, alive. She drew her weapon and moved deeper. Meanwhile, the Ember team didn't know she was gone. Not yet. Felix was in Bangkok, cleaning out a silent investor funding mercenary data farms. Dana and Vance were in Tunisia, burning false NGOs. Bishop had just landed in London with a microchip loaded with names, but none of them knew Eden had disappeared from their shared network. Only Reed knew, and he wasn't answering. Eden's boots touched the floor of the core chamber, circular, low ceiling, blue emergency lights air pulsing. A single central terminal. It was already running. A holographic interface glowed above the platform, scanning her face. "Welcome, Eden Wolfe," it said. Then it loaded files, names, images, operation schematics, not from Falcon, from before, from Ember. She stepped back, but the system kept talking, accessing Echo protocol. Her breath caught. Echo was never a real op, it was a myth. The idea that if Ember ever turned, if the team fractured, one core agent would be designated to erase them, to erase it all. A suicide mission. Final safeguard. Agent Eden Wolfe. Clearance confirmed. The walls shimmered. Panels opened. Weapons, counter-data viruses. Full dossiers on her team. She stared in disbelief. And then someone stepped out from the shadows. "You weren't supposed to come alone." Reed, alive, tired, unarmed. "What is this?" she asked. He nodded toward the terminal. "The final loop. Falcon didn't build this. We did. Ember did. Back when we thought the world would need a fail-safe. This is a kill switch. It's a mirror. A record. Every secret no one's meant to hold. If it falls into the wrong hands, so you called me to destroy it?" He hesitated. Then, "No. I called you to choose." Eden's voice dropped. "Choose what? To end Ember, to release it, or to bury it so deep no one could ever use it again?" She paced the chamber. The files kept loading. Images of Darbo in combat. Felix's building encryption firewalls. Dana's field footage. Vance's first takedown. Bishop's classified psych report. Her own photo, staring back at her like a ghost. "They never knew this existed," she said. "They weren't supposed to. You were the only one who passed the deep check. You were always Echo." She laughed bitterly. "So I was the end built into the beginning." He nodded. Thunder shook the walls. "And now, what if I walk away? Then it stays, hidden, until someone finds it. And next time, it won't be you." Eden stepped toward the core. The interface pulsed. "Delete all records, confirm Echo termination, or upload to global node?" A third option now blinked. Lockdown, permanent containment mode. She turned to Reed. "What would you do?" "Doesn't matter. I'm not the one holding the match." Eden closed her eyes, breathed. When she opened them, she made her choice. She pressed lockdown, permanent containment mode. The system beeped once, softly and finally. Then all screens dimmed, a pale pulse sliding through the walls. Data didn't vanish. It didn't upload. It froze in time, locked, buried in a labyrinth of encryption, untraceable even to its creators. Eden let go of the interface. Her hand trembled once, then steadied. Reed let out a long breath. "You sealed it. Not for me," she said. "For them." She turned and walked past him. Reed hesitated, then followed. As they climbed the long shaft back toward the rain-lashed entry, Eden didn't look back. And when they emerged from the dark concrete tunnel into the open storm, her eyes blinked up into a sky she finally didn't fear. Back in London, Bishop paused mid-transmission when a secure ping arrived. A single word, code flashed into her monitor, dormant. She stared at it, then smiled. She powered down the terminal. In Bangkok, Felix stepped off a train, felt the phone vibrate in his jacket. When he saw the message, his shoulders relaxed. He walked down the platform, tossing his burner into the bin. A soft goodbye. Dana and Vance were deep in the hills of Tunisia, dismantling a rogue training cell, when Dana's encrypted watch blinked 3 times and went dark. Vance raised an eyebrow. Dana simply nodded. She did it. Yeah? Yeah. They didn't say anything more, just kept working. 2 days later, in a small hillside cafe in Valparaiso, Eden sat with a mug of coffee that had long since gone cold. Across from her, Reed nursed a split lip and a quiet stare. "You think it'll hold?" he asked. "Only if we do." He watched her for a long moment. "You never told them you were Echo." "I didn't have to. They trusted me. That's why it worked." He tilted his head. "And what now? Now I live—" She smiled. Small, real. And for the first time since Ember's birth, Eden Wolfe ordered breakfast without scanning every exit. A year passed, then another. The Ember team faded into legends, names whispered in failed bunkers and broken chains. Governments tried to rebuild something similar. They never did, because what Eden sealed wasn't just data, it was a belief. Brotherhood, the silent promise forged in the worst places, under the worst pressure, by people who refused to break. They never wore medals, they never asked for thanks. But somewhere in every forgotten trench, every quiet rescue, every exposed lie, there was their echo. In the final scene on a winter morning in Alaska, a young recruit finds a coin half buried in snow near an abandoned airstrip. It bears no flag. No name, just a triangle. And 3 letters, EW. The recruit pockets it, unaware of the story it carries. Somewhere far away, Eden stands on a cliff, watching the horizon. No wars left, no mission pending, just the wind, the sea, and the quiet knowledge. Some ghosts don't haunt, they guard. The rain had stopped. Somewhere, far from encrypted networks and shadow operations, the world continued unaware that a war had quietly ended. Not with a bang, but with a choice. Eden Wolfe had once been the last safeguard, the final line of trust buried beneath mission reports and code names. And in the end, she made a decision not out of vengeance, fear, or fame, but protection. She sealed the vault. She let Ember die, not in disgrace, but in peace. And what remains? Not the intel, not the weapons, not the orders. What remains is a story, a silent one, etched into the lives of those who risked everything not for recognition, but for the right to stand between the innocent and the darkness no one else dared face. Bishop, still flying under civilian radar, now trains rescue medics in war zones. Her past has never been spoken of. But every patient feels the steadiness in her hands. Felix, a digital ghost, now consults for non-profits anonymously, cleaning their code, patching their holes, shielding them from threats they don't even know exist. Dana and Vance vanished into the folds of world crises. One was spotted in Haiti, the other is near the Ukrainian border. Unconfirmed, always just out of reach. Reed? No one's sure. Some say he returned to the hills of Montana. Others believe he lives in a cave along the Italian coast. Maybe he was always just a myth. Maybe that's all he ever wanted to be. And Eden? She walks the markets with no security detail. She answers to no call sign. Sometimes she writes in a journal. Just fragments. Just echoes. Her neighbors know her as the quiet woman with the strong hands and the sad eyes who always helps without being asked. No one knows what she did. No one asks. They feel the gravity in her silence, and that is enough. There will be others, new threats, new faces, there always are. But the world now rests slightly steadier because of a team that once burned in secrecy, then dissolved without applause. No statues, no documentaries, no tell-all books. Only the occasional whisper. Only the feeling that someone once stood in a place no one wanted to be and didn't move. Not victory, but sacrifice. Not glory, but silence. Not the loudest stories, but the ones most likely to be forgotten unless we hold space for them. So today, if this story moved you, pause, not just to like or subscribe, though we'd love for you to stay with us, but to reflect on those in your own life who may bear invisible tattoos. Whoa, smile just a little too tightly. Who holds the door a little longer for a stranger? Those who carry a quiet weight. Because maybe, like Eden, they chose to protect without a promise of reward. Maybe they've seen what they never speak about. And maybe what they most need isn't your question, but your respect. We tell stories you're not meant to forget. If this one moved you, drop a comment below. Let us know what moment hit you hardest. Let us know where you're watching from. We read to everyone. And if you know someone who would carry this story in their chest, tell it to them. Help us keep the echoes alive. Because of the greatest stories? They don't always wear uniforms. They walk among us. They guard the silence. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.